Are we rolling? Are we rolling? Welcome to the podcast, y'all. We got video now. Kind of, maybe, sort of. Are we live? Yeah, we live. All right. See if I can do this without touching the mic and knocking down the camera. What up, famous Amos the Juiced Up Ninja? Coming at you guys for another episode of the Eat Plants Move Often podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about a little bit of some business advice, some things I've learned. This podcast was inspired by Nina. Shout out to Nina, Mama Jane's Botanicals. This past weekend, we had a smoke sesh, an invite-only smoke sesh for Della Stoner's birthday. Shout out to everybody that came out to that. We opened up the studio, we had the vape lounge going, and we had all of our hemp goods for sale. And it was just a great time chilling, but at some point in the night, we were rolling up a joint, and Nina started picking my brain from a business standpoint, and I realized this is some really good content and some really good information that people could benefit from hearing. And it's things that I've gone through, and it's things that Nina is going through currently. And so we'll probably have some more content with Nina involved in our next meeting whenever we meet up. But in the meantime, I just wanted to drop this thing because it's on my mind and I know it'd be valuable. So if you're any kind of a entrepreneur or business owner of any kind, or you're interested in it, I think you'll find some value in this. So we'll see. And if you do find some value, if you could please just share this episode with a friend who you think could also benefit from this. I'm just trying to grow this podcast organically. I'm not trying to make the biggest podcast in the world. I literally do this just to spread value and build community. And because a lot of people we talk to, they have cool things to say. They're doing cool things. We want to highlight them. And every now and then I think that I have a little bit of a profound thought or two that you might like to hear. All right then, let's get right into it. So basically, I'm going to start kind of walking you through the conversation I had with Nina. And so one of the things she was saying is she's experiencing some traction and she's experiencing some growth in her sales. She sells CBD online and in pop-up farmers markets and whatnot. And so she's saying, but now she's struggling with okay, what do I do with this growth, right? What are the next steps once I have traction and once I'm seeing some growth, once I've got started in my business. And that's one of the most challenging things. It's even from my perspective, I think, just due to my character and the type of person I am, for me, that was harder than starting. For some of you, starting may be the most difficult thing, but for me, I'm great at starting. I can start. That's my problem is I have too many ideas and I want to start all of them. And sometimes I get them started knowing intentionally they're not meant to get finished anytime soon, but at least the ball's rolling type of thing. But anyways, it's very difficult to get to the next step, which is formally known as in business scaling. How do you scale? Now, scaling could mean going from $100 in sales to 1,000, going from 10 customers to 100 customers, or from 100,000 customers to 1 million customers. Both of those are scaling, and both of those are going to take different strategies and different approaches and different budgets and different things. But I can tell you what I told Nina, which is this: scaling. It's gonna be oversimplified statement, but trust me, it's somewhat valuable. At least I think it is. Scaling takes more. That's it. Yeah, you guys probably well, what the hell is that? I know. I'll go in on it, but to put it as simple as possible, scaling takes more. More what? Great question. It takes more, first off, of what you've already put into your business. So it takes more of your time, it takes more of your energy, right? Most of us started by ourselves. If you're a bootstrapping startup, solopreneur, the way I was, you do everything yourself. You put in your time and your energy, and you put in your sweat equity. We usually don't have much money to put in, but we put in our own money as well. I started Famous Juice with $29. I started MJ's with $5,000 from an investment partner and $0 of my own money, which are still, both are not very big budgets traditionally. But once I got going, I got to a point with Famous Juice first where I had traction, I had growth, and I had a little bit of a plateau. And then it was like, well, how do I grow this thing next? How do I scale? And that's when I really started investing in myself as a leader. I started investing in my community and building a team. And I decided it was time to bring on investors. And so the first thing that it's going to take more of to scale your business and to exit that startup phase, or at least start to transition, is it's going to take more capital. One of the hard lessons I learned, which seems obvious now in retrospect, but in the moment it's not, is you can bootstrap the startup. You can start with really nothing, the way I did. I started with basically nothing. And you can do that for a startup. You can do that to get going. However, you cannot bootstrap the scale up, literally. Unless you have a very high margin business and you have very high sales volume, and you have a goals timeline, if that makes sense, that makes it to where it's acceptable to bootstrap your profits back into your growth. But if you have quicker timelines, if you have certain goals, you may not have the time to wait, basically. And so if you want to speed up your growth, which is essentially what scaling is, or at least it's, growing what you've already created, but it also means from a time standpoint, meaning speeding up the sales cycle type of thing, which I'm not going to go too deep into that right now. But it's going to take money. It's going to take capital. It takes money for inventory. It takes money for marketing. It takes money for customer, acquisition, which is the marketing, but also customer retention. It takes money in building your team. It takes money in hiring consultants if you need to help build out SOPs, your standard operating procedures. It takes hiring an SEO expert, somebody that helps you rank higher for keywords on Google. And so all of this takes money, right? You maybe need to buy new equipment. All of this takes money. Maybe you need a new location. You need to renovate your location to scale and grow your business and capitalize on the opportunity that you can see, because you've proven some of that traction. You can see that there's more opportunity, and how do you tap into that opportunity is one of the questions you've got to answer when scaling your business. And so that's what I told Nina, is you're just going to take more of you. And what that means is now you got to ask some questions and make some decisions when it comes to your capital strategy. What is your capital strategy? Do you have a capital strategy? Are you only bootstrapping? Are you going to take a loan from a bank? Are you going to bring on investors to invest money into your business? Are you going to do crowdfunding and a Kickstarter campaign? There's a variety of ways you can go about getting capital for your business, but at the end of the day, what's most important is that you have a strategy for capital. And the answer may be, I'm going to keep reinvesting the profits into my business and grow it that way. That's valid. I do that as well as have investors. But not everybody can do that, because maybe you have to pay yourself. It depends on your lifestyle. It depends on your goals. There's a lot of factors here. There's really, in business, there's no right or wrong way inherently or objectively. There are more efficient ways, maybe you can say, but ultimately each scenario's unique to you and your lifestyle and your goals and what you want to do. And so it's going to take more capital. It's going to take more of your time and your energy to scale your company and your business. And it's going to take more people, because ultimately you're only one person and you only have so much time and energy, and you've got to multiply that in the form of a team. And then me and Nina talked about a team, because she brought up, well, I'm so, scared of letting go and letting somebody do the things that I do, and they're not going to do as good as me, or they're going to mess up. And I'm like, yeah, right? Like, think about it, that's what I asked her. Think about it. Like, why are you so afraid to let go of that? Because the first thing I told her was like, you got to let go of that. Otherwise, you're never going to grow and scale. You've got to let go of that fear. And it is scary. And I asked her, why is it that you're afraid to do that? What is it that you're afraid is going to happen? And it was kind of a rhetorical question, because I know the answer, and I told her the answer. and we were on the same page, and I was like, it's because you're afraid that they're gonna fuck it up, right? That they're gonna fuck up shipping it, they're gonna fuck up fulfilling your order, they're gonna fuck up the sales process, whatever it is that you're trying to show them, the making of your product. They're gonna you're afraid that they're gonna mess up, or you're afraid that if they don't mess up, they're just not gonna do as good a job as you, right? You're the owner, you have a higher level of integrity and attention to detail in your products, and you care more because it's your business, it's your baby, so of course. And I was like, but the thing is, they're gonna do that. They're gonna fuck up, and they're gonna not do it as good as you, but that shouldn't stop you from still training and looking for people that you can coach and lead to not screw up, and to learn your procedures, which that'll be a second point here in a second, to learn the procedures, and to learn to get as good as you, and eventually one day maybe better than you. You never give them that opportunity, because at one point in time, how did you learn? You learn by messing it up. You learn by doing a subpar job. You learn by a customer getting pissed off at you because the order was late, or the product wasn't as good as they thought it was. You told them it would be, whatever it may be, right? We learn through failure inherently. We actually don't learn through success, at least not very much. We learn far more from failing, and so I'm a big fan of failing forward and failing fast, and that gets back to just starting. And so you've got to get your team, you've got to hire a team, you've got to invest in a team, and then you've got to develop your team, which starts with you as the leader. You've got to develop yourself as a leader, and part of that is letting go, and part of that is exemplifying the core values of your business, so that your employees and your team learns how to exemplify that as well. They're going to follow what you do, not what you say. Okay? They're going to follow what you do, not what you say. And that's leadership. Leaders go first. That's literally what it means by definition. And so they're going to follow your lead, literally. And so that's your role then when you're growing your business and your team. And then a part of that, these are all things that I realized in my journey, and now I'm implementing them currently, and learning the next stages of it, and sharing that with you and Nina. I'm just regurgitating the lessons and things that I had to go through. And one of the great books that really helped me through this, and currently is still helping me, is called Traction and the EOS Model by Gino Wickman. And so that brings me to my next point, is once you've got a team, it's not enough to just develop the team. You've also got to develop your SOPs, which is your standard operating procedures for your business. Head to toe, you should have a process and a procedure for everything in your business, whether that's your marketing and your social media, whether that is your sales process, or maybe that's your operational processes, how you make and package and deliver your product, how you deliver it to your customer. Or it's your finance and your HR department. There's processes and systems and things that need to be created and then implemented and then maintained. And ultimately, that's what's going to free you from the business and allow you to work more on the business versus in the business, and allow your team, empower your team to grow and to help you grow the business. And so ultimately, you've got to create systems to go along with your team. And that was one of the things I realized early on, because not to say early on, but after a few years into Famous Juice, I launched MJ's, and it was really gaining a lot of traction, and we were working on scaling that. And I realized, like, how do I scale Famous Juice? And I was in a pickle because I had no systems. It was all in my head. I made everything. I did it all. I never wrote the systems down on paper. I didn't know how to create systems. That doesn't come natural to me. I'm a visionary entrepreneur versus a integrator entrepreneur, which is something you also want to look into, is getting you an integrator counterpart to your visionary counterpart if you are visionary, which if you're the one that started and came up with the idea, you're likely the visionary. And so systemizing things is not our forte inherently, but it is something we can learn and then eventually bring somebody on who's better than us at that. And then there's really, there's the scary statistics that, I don't know, the exact statistics, but you hear them all the time. Things like, 80% of businesses fail in the first 3 years, and then 90% of those fail in the next 5 years, blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying it's not true, but one of the things that I misunderstood early about those types of phrases and sayings is I thought they were saying that 80% of business ideas or strategies or products are shit and they suck and they're not good businesses. And while that may be somewhat true, what's most true about that is 80% of people just give up. They don't fail because their strategy is bad, or their product is bad, or their business is bad, or their team is bad. They fail because eventually they reach some level of adversity where they just give up and put their hands up in the air, and they put out the white flag, and they make a decision to stop finding solutions when you could push yourself and your team to get creative, think outside the box, and find another way to overcome this obstacle. And so my next point is just keep going. You will be successful if you just keep doing the work and just stay on your plan and keep working your list. You make a list and you work that list every day. That's whether that's a task list or a sales list or whatever it is. You make a list and you execute the list, and you do that day after day after day after day after day after day after day. When you're tired and you're exhausted, you keep doing it. When you're happy and you're fulfilled and you're grateful, you do it. When you're on vacation, you think about it. At least I do. Maybe not as healthy. You got to have times when you also meditate and clear your mind. But my point is, you just keep going. And the only way you're going to be able to keep going, especially when it's difficult and especially when you're not making that much money, is if it's not about money. If you started this business, regardless of what it is, but especially in the cannabis space, for making money, then it's going to be very difficult, because you don't make a lot of money in the beginning. It takes a long time. It takes patience, aggressive patience, to get to the point where you're making a significant amount of money. And so when you're not making money, what's got to fuel you is the passion. What's got to fuel you is your vision. You've got to inspire yourself, and then in turn inspire your team for the world that you guys are creating by solving the problem with the solution you're providing with your product or service. And so if you truly believe in your own brand and product and service, if you truly believe in it, that passion will keep you going. You'll find a way to take care of your financial responsibilities in other ways if needed, or you'll elevate your business to reach that point where it can handle your financial responsibilities as well. But also that means, reducing your financial responsibility. I lived with my parents till I was 20. I'm 29 right now. I'm about to be 30 next month. So I think I was 27 when I moved out, and I strategically lived with my parents and never moved out to keep my overhead low, because I knew I was going to launch businesses and grow them, and I knew I needed to make smarter decisions. Maybe that means you don't travel that much. I didn't travel anywhere until 4 years into my business, and even then it's not a big part. I love to travel, but I really only do it if it's a business move as well. But it's got to change your personal lifestyle as well to if you really want this thing to work out in the long run. And so you really just got to focus on making an impact. That's your main thing, making an impact. Making an impact on what? On your community. What does that mean? That means on your customers. Well, how do you do that? On the next one person that walks in your door, or that calls you, or that emails you, that's interested in your business. That one person. Give them your undivided attention. Identify what is the problem that they're seeking to solve by coming to you, and then do your very absolute best at making sure you solve that problem for them. Even if that means they don't buy your product or service. Because if you do so, they're going to be fans, and they're going to be loyal, and they're going to continue buying your product or service. Or if they didn't buy it, they're going to have so much respect for you that they're going to want to buy it. And so you focus on impacting each and every individual person because you actually care, right? Not because you're trying to hack this thing and be successful and scale and grow and make all this money, but because this is why you got into this business, right? Because you wanted to help people solve a problem. That's what entrepreneurship is actually about. That's how you provide real value that's going to sustain long term, and that's how you will get rich ultimately, because people pay for value. They don't pay you for time. They don't pay you for even your product. It's the value that your product represents. It's the value of the time that you're giving them. And so you really got to focus on that. And I'm going to wrap up this podcast with some resources that have helped me that I think could help you guys. I'll give you some categories and maybe some specific ones. So for me, books is huge. If you know me, you know I read every single day. Early on in my entrepreneurship journey, I realized I needed to invest in myself daily. And one simple, easy way for me to do that is to read a minimum of 10 pages of a personal development book every single day. I've done that for almost 8 years now, and that has paid back tenfold, because it's helped me apply real life strategies that I've extracted from the philosophies and strategies in the books. And there's a lot of overlap, and you'll start to find themes in these different books. And so highly recommend books. Like I mentioned, Traction, really good for scaling, creating the systems and building your team. Another really good one are classic books that are just, there's a reason why they're classics. Good to Great by Jim Collins, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And then leadership books, highly recommend Jocko Willink's books. And then podcasts, my favorite thing to do while I'm driving is to listen to podcasts. You know, you guys are listening to me right now, so props to you. Hopefully you found some value in this one. Go ahead and go to wherever you're listening to this podcast and go subscribe to the Real AF podcast by Andy Frisella. Listen to his new ones, but go way back when his podcast was called the MFCEO Project. It was more so focused on entrepreneurship and business advice, and I've learned a tremendous amount from Andy Frisella, and he's relatable and he's real. There's a lot of fake ass coaches out there, a lot of fake ass business builders out there. You want to follow real ones that are building real businesses, and Andy is one of those people. Podcast is great. Also, different I listen to motivational and inspirational speakers on the daily, and I've done that for years. Some days you need a kick in the ass, some days you need inspiring, some days you want practical advice. So some of the people I listen to regularly, Eric Thomas was one of the first, very motivational. He'll light a fire under your ass for sure. He'll get you inspired. Les Brown, another inspiring individual with great speeches. Jim Rohn has very practical business and life philosophies and advice that I use to this day. Every day I'm implementing. Who else? Gary Vee has some very practical, interesting insights when it comes to content strategy and just business development in general. You want to be listening to these people all the time. Fill your mind. And then couple that with action. You don't want to just be a quote unquote success zombie where you're just consuming all the content but not actually applying or using it. So make sure you're also creating those lists from the content and things that you actually apply and do on a daily basis. You don't just consume it and listen to it, you actually apply it. That's where the real magic happens. And then the last thing is in person, things like meetups and conferences and expos. Go get plugged in with your industry or maybe peripheral industries that you're in. And if you can, this is really the stage I'm starting to get to, where I'm participating in weekly masterminds, whether that's digitally. Eventually I want to formulate an in-person one, and it's just a way for you guys to hold each other accountable. It's a way for you guys to come up with different solutions to the different problems that you're having. And so all these are resources to help you scale and grow your business. I'm in the thick of it myself. I'm just at a certain point where maybe I can share some of this, and you're on an earlier point than I am. I'm 7-8 years into this journey so far. I'm not rich by any means, but I have enough to support my family, which alone is fulfilling. But it took a long time to get to this point. It took a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work, a lot of creative problem solving. There are many times when you reach blocks in the road that feels like, how are you going to get past this? But you just got to keep searching. Seek and you shall find the answers to your problems. and being creative with it, and leaning on the people around you, whether that's your team in your business or your parents or your family or your friends, or ideally your mastermind group. That's what this is going to help you be the most successful. So I hope you guys found some value in today's podcast. This is one that I had on my mind that I knew would be high value. Not that my other episodes aren't, but it's just a little bit of a different format, and I knew that this was going to deliver a lot of impact, because this is what I would have loved to hear early on. If any of you guys want to reach out to me directly, you're listening to this, I do business consulting, cannabis consulting. Right now I'm kind of doing it freelance for free because I really just want to help people. Obviously I don't have all the time in the world, but I'll work you into my schedule. And then especially if I can record it and create content, which is something that I realized from Gary Vee particularly, just to record as much as you can, because number one, it's really cool to look back at it and see the progress and see where you were. And number two, people love to see the behind the scenes. They love to see the people behind the brand. They love to see how it's developed. So anyways, I love you guys and I wish the best for you. And I know you have great ideas, and you have great products, and you have great businesses that exist within your mind's eye and within your heart. And I challenge you to bring those forth into the world and show us what you can do. If you feel like you've been living a life that is stagnant, if you feel like you've been living mediocre, and when you are, it. If you've been feeling that vibration, I challenge you to exit your comfort zone and push yourself. And the world wants to see you blossom. We don't want to just see your leaves, we want to see your flowers. Brothers and sisters, I hope you stay blessed, and I'm grateful for you listening. You guys have a good rest of your day. This has been Famous Amos, the Juiced Up Ninja. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace. What a great episode. I found a motherfucking flow on that one. What y'all think? Leave me a comment. Let me know what y'all think.